Good morning. Good morning, Internet land. Welcome, everybody. We are, as usual, just waiting for our straggler Instagram to go live, and then we will get started with
Mhm.
another episode of DIY Wellness, episode 8. In the meantime, Mo, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing good. I got my pumpkin chai tea. I know fall's over, but I still love pumpkin flavored things, so I'm dragging it out.
Yes, there is never a need to apologize for pumpkin flavored stuff. It's good, except for pumpkin pie, often, which there's just no need for pumpkin pie
What?
ever. Yeah,
Stop
sorry about
it.
it.
You're a liar. You are
That's
a
my
liar.
hot take, and we are now live everywhere. So with that, we're gonna switch gears and let my opinion on pumpkin pie be the one that stands for time
Oh my
immemorial.
gosh.
Pumpkin pie is take it or leave it. And welcome
You're so
to
wrong.
episode 8 of DIY Wellness. I'm your host, Brian Hogan. This is my co-host, Morgan Barbrett, and today we are talking about the truth about rest and why we are not getting any rest. Uh,
Mhm.
this is the show for people taking personal growth into their own hands. On this show, we talk about lots of different strategies for improving quality of life and well-being, strategies that we are currently or have in the past implemented. And we're going to explain and experiment with different ideas and methods for improving quality of life. Our hope is that when you listen, that you take what resonates and apply it to your own life, and you can leave the rest for the dustbin of history. Just dip your toes into anything that
Mhm.
resonates for you. So with that said, Mo,
Mhm.
other than getting over your addiction to pumpkin pie, how are you taking personal growth into your own hands today?
Oh my gosh. I am working on finding the ways of resting and rejuvenating that are best for me or most effective for me. Both my husband and I have been sick lately for like over a week, and it's just not it's
Ooh.
not abating. It's like lingering, and then he's also been dealing with some back issues, and so we're trying to figure out how to address the issue, which is that our energy levels are significantly lower than usual. We're helping each other through it. We're trying to figure out how do we get back to our baseline level of energy. And that kind of bridges into our topic for today because we want to talk about how resting, we kind of use this blanket term of rest for both taking breaks and recharging, but those two things are qualitatively different. You can
Mm-hmm.
take a break and not really recharge. So they're very different, but we're going to talk about that difference. We're going to talk about a form of yoga that is actually designed to be restful and in the rejuvenating sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Yoga Nidra, which Brian will tell us a little bit about. And then we're also going to talk about how, in your own life, to discern between whether something is just a break, as in just hitting pause, or restful for you personally. So I actually have a metaphor that I want to share for this concept of discerning between taking a break and recharging. And we call it the bathtub metaphor. So if you imagine a bathtub that's filled with water, when you're expending
It's
energy, the
also a
water
bubble
in
bath.
this metaphor.
It's a
Yeah,
bubble
okay,
bath
sure. It
and
can
it
be a
has
bubble bath.
candles, and I smell the scent of rose.
All
Okay,
of
now
those
carry on.
all of those details are irrelevant. um, so the water is your level of energy, right? And let's say that the bathtub's like halfway full. When you're expending energy, when you're working, when you're addressing, emotional topics, these are all things that drain the water. So the plug or the drain is open, and so your energy is flowing out. When you take a break and you hit pause, that's plugging the drain so that no more water drains out. So your energy levels are going to stay about the same, but at least you're not actively losing energy, losing water.
Mm-hmm.
But rejuvenation, the form of rest that's actually going to recharge you, is different from plugging the drain. It's turning on the faucet and adding more water to the bath. Right. So there's some forms of rest that all fall under this umbrella of the term rest that we use, that are taking a break or plugging the drain, and there's some forms of rest that are adding water to the bath, adding to your bank of energy that you have, and being able to discern between those things so that you can actively choose what you need in that moment.
Yeah.
will help us get higher quality rest.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. You get me thinking. The first one that pops into my mind, obviously, because it's ubiquitous, is doom scrolling, right? Like being on your phone, taking a
Mhm.
break and like looking through the thing. And as you were talking, I was thinking to myself, oh, well, the doom scrolling is obviously the hitting pause one. That's not rejuvenating at all. So obviously hitting pause. And as you were talking and I
Right.
was really thinking about it, I was like, actually, I think doom scrolling is like plugging the drain with a faulty drain plug. Like, yeah, maybe
Mhm.
you've hit pause on the thing you were doing for the day, like your work. So you've
Yeah.
paused and started doom scrolling. So you've just put a little plug in there, but it has holes in it. And so now you're actually still leaking energy with things like doom scrolling, but
Yeah.
maybe just like less quickly. So sometimes we have to be really mindful of like, is our pause actually even, did it even pause the draining of the water or did
Yeah.
it just slow it down? You know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So there's some things that we think are rest but aren't actually refilling our cup or refilling the energy bank. Um I I think in general doom scrolling is one of those things that has a faulty plug like Brian expressed. But there are, some things that a lot of times we almost don't want to do that are restful and rejuvenating, like doing nothing, like sitting and doing nothing, resting, sometimes taking a nap, um, yoga nidra, which we might talk about. Like sometimes the things that are actually restful, we're like, oh, like that's weird. I don't want to do it. But
Yeah,
it's the
sitting
thing that would
alone.
actually make you feel better.
Yeah, it's so because it's difficult because our culture has taught us not to do that. Like we've been taught since birth basically to achieve,
Hmm.
to go fast, to get it right, to be productive. And so to sit down and do nothing, as Mo just he suggested, is actually very foreign to us. It's as foreign to us as like going to a
Hmm.
new country for the first time. It's like that strange because that's not our culture, is to sit there. There was I
Yeah.
forget, Pascal, I think it was, said something like, most of man's problems could be solved if he could learn to sit alone with himself in a room for 15 minutes. So it's that, right? Like
Yeah.
we really don't allow ourselves to have that sort of mindful presence, which is where the resting, the deep rejuvenation comes from. That's why things like, counterintuitively speaking, going for a walk can actually be very
Hmm.
rejuvenating and
Yeah.
restful, but it's active. It's actually active, right? So rest doesn't mean sleep. Rest simply means that you are recharging your energy, which is why at the end, when we get to it, Mo is going to give us a method to find out for ourselves which things are restful and which aren't, because it's not always just the things that are slower and take less energy are the restful things. Sometimes laying around doing
Yeah.
nothing, you can just be sitting there in an anxiety spiral. And so then that's not restful at all. But going for a walk and looking at the birds and the trees, now you're expending caloric energy, but you're actually resting more deeply than if you just sat around. So
Yeah.
it's personal for each person. And for sometimes you just need to just sit around. Sometimes that is the most restful
Yeah.
thing. So it's not about the task, it's about your presence, level of presence within the task or the
Yeah.
non-task.
Well,
It's doing nothing.
and this is in modern times becoming a structural societal problem
Yep.
because we value productivity, busyness, so much that anybody who identifies as a busy person, an overachiever, a perfectionist, we feel so much more valuable when we're producing, when we're working, that there's like this inherent layer of guilt anytime that we're not doing things. And we also have cultivated this belief in society that we can always do more. We can always say
Mhm.
yes to more things. We can always figure out ways to be more productive. And when you're living in that mindset of, I can always find ways to do more and be more productive, what gets sacrificed is our ability to get real rest and rejuvenate, because it starts to feel like, oh, if my purpose in life is to be the most productive that I possibly can, then I'm not supposed to rest. I'm not supposed to
Mhm.
rejuvenate. So then even when I try to rejuvenate, even when I try to like actually completely stop doing things and go take a walk to help my brain recharge, I feel guilty, which means that I can't even access real rejuvenation because it's creating more emotional stress for me to even try to do so. And so we get into this loop of like not even being able to give ourselves permission to get
Yeah.
real rejuvenation when in reality that's what helps our bodies recover and that's what everybody needs.
And it's so funny because the irony is if we would really rest properly and enoughly, then we would be more
Mhm.
productive, which is the thing that we're
Yeah.
addicted to trying to be. And so I'm not saying rest so you can be more productive. That's obviously like that's just you're caught in the loop. But if that's what's going to motivate you to rest, then use that as your beginning motivation because rest
Mhm.
is a game changer. And this isn't just new to
Yeah.
our culture. I mean, we have taken it to extremes in modern Western culture, but this is a proclivity of human nature from ancient times, which is why yoga nidra came to be a thing at all. So, like really briefly,
Oh, okay.
yoga nidra is the science of how to consciously rest. So the idea is that you get into a really comfortable position where you as comfortable as if you were going to sleep, even more comfortable. And then once you feel that
Mhm.
comfortable, you'll get more comfortable. The first prompt in Yoga Nidra is to get 10% more comfortable. And once you're very comfortable, the next prompt is, I will not sleep. And so what that does is it puts you in this place of being as relaxed as possible, but keeping your mind awake. So you end up in this like
Yeah.
hypnagogic state. It's called the place between sleep and being awake. And in that place, that you track through like a guided visualization that someone's either leading you through or you listen to. And through that, what's happening is you're giving your brain this exercise, but allowing every other aspect of your body to consciously and deeply rest in a way that normally doesn't even happen in sleep because we usually just go to bed
Yeah.
thinking about whatever we're thinking about for the day. So yoga nidra was like an ancient technology to help a busy culture back then find a way to rest
Yeah.
because even sleep wasn't going to be enough. And so we'll get into actually next week, we'll take you guys through a yoga nidra session so you can deepen
Mhm.
your own relationship with rest before you jump into the busy, crazy holidays. But for now, let's just talk a little bit about how you can tell which activities that you do on a daily basis are restful for you and which aren't, which Mo will take us through.
Yeah. Yeah, so essentially what I want to teach y'all is just Brian and I are calling it a rest check tool. So all it is I pick out something that I think might be restful, something that might actually help rejuvenate me. I try it out and I assess the before and after. How do I feel before I do this thing? And then, for example, go take a walk, and then afterwards ask myself, how do I feel afterwards? And
So
almost keeping like a log of how do I feel before I do a thing? When I do it, how do I feel afterwards? And just so you have like a realistic, measurable understanding of how things make you feel.
mhm.
Do they make me feel like, okay, I get temporary relief while I'm doing the thing, and then afterwards, all of the same levels of exhaustion come back? Or do I feel like I have more energy after I do the thing? And if you experiment with that over and over again with different forms of rest, then you kind of start to get a list of things that you know are restful for yourself that are going to help you actually meet your body's needs.
This tool is powerful and scary, and it will also shorten your list of things that you thought were on your rest list. Because
Yeah.
this tool is how I single-handedly discovered that standing over the counter over an open container of ice cream and eating it mindlessly is not actually restful. It turns out, like you don't have a lot more energy after that. You end up with brain fog.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have known that had I not used the rest check tool and been conscious about how do I feel before this? I'm going into the Neapolitan. How do I feel after?
Yeah.
And now that's off
Yeah.
my list. It doesn't mean I'll never have Neapolitan ice cream again, but it means I won't go to the Neapolitan ice cream as a means of resting. I know that that's not
Yeah.
going to work.
Yeah, and it's gonna be different for everybody. Like, some people may be able to get rest for things that other people aren't able to. It just kinda
Yeah.
depends on, like, your relationship to that thing, I think, among other things. But, another example for me is, like, something that I enjoy that is fun for me is sometimes playing video games, specifically Minecraft. But is Minecraft restful for me? No, I'm, like, actively, like, blowing things up in the Nether, like, I'm not I generally feel a little bit of stress, and then when I'm done with it, I'm still tired. So,
Mhm.
you know, it may still have its benefits. You may still enjoy the ice cream. I may still enjoy Minecraft, but in a moment where I notice that I'm tired, depleted, exhausted, is that the thing that is going to help me meet my needs the best in that moment? Not really.
Yeah, exactly. And this is a great example too, because it doesn't mean Mo is never going to play Minecraft again. It means she knows that's not how she recharges.
I'm going to play it a lot.
Yeah,
I'm gonna play it a
exactly.
lot,
Play it a
but
lot,
I'm not going to
but not
recharge
to
it
recharge,
with it.
just to have fun.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the ball
Yeah.
game for everybody. To take rest seriously if you can, but also take rest playfully. Notice when you're not getting it. Trust me, you're probably not getting enough. If you're alive in the present day, if you're alive and it's December 12th at 8:46 a.m. Eastern time, then you probably are not getting enough rest, because we are a busy, busy planet. So just keep that in mind, and then do the rest check tool. And if you have any experience with this, we'd love to hear about your relationship to rest in the comments. If you try out the rest check tool, we'd love to know your experience with the rest check tool. What did you discover that you didn't think was restful that actually makes you more rested? What did you discover, to your chagrin, that you thought was restful but now you know is not on the rest list anymore? Let us know in the comments. Yeah. And until next week, keep taking personal growth into your own hands, but watch the podcast so you don't have to do it all by yourself. See you next week, everybody.